can engage in terms of statistical analysis. So I want to leave it there and feel safe that even if I'm repeating some things, they're just reinforcing your learning. And some of you might wonder, but the Vice Chancellor, what is he saying? After all, they're the ones who design these things. No, we don't. I don't pretend. When I come to this forum, I just come to as a lecturer in research methods, and I have the freedom to say what I feel. So we have a very important class today. I've asked God to give me a special intuition so that some of you can come out of this class, this seminar, saying, oh my God, I think now I can see how I will do my proposal defense. I have had a privilege to look at all your theses, all your conceptual notes. I've looked at your topics, and I have made some suggestions. And those are not things we're just picking all over, no. And I'll be talking about the advantage I want my PhD students to use and tap into artificial intelligence to high levels. I don't want you to do what we used to do with the invasion of the internet, where all we did was to copy and paste and then accumulate what you call a chapter 2. And when you look at that, chapter 2 is amorphous, it is not continuous, it doesn't flow, it doesn't express the intellectual aptitude that you'll have gained by doing a PhD. We must be very cautious about AI. And it's going to be more difficult for you because when I get to your chapter 1, I have the highest software now. And all I'm going to do is as I read, I will highlight all sections. I will highlight the introduction to the background of the problem. I will highlight the problem statement. I will highlight the purpose. I will highlight the objective stroke research questions stroke hypothesis. I will highlight rationale up to the end, conceptual and theoretical framework. And I'll be asking the software to look at the citations you have put in the background of your study. And the software will pull out all those citations and tell me the relevance or the non-relevance of those citations vis-a-vis your problem statement. So you see, those who keep harping about AI and what, they are busy harping, but they're not getting at the center of AI. So for me, when you gave me your topic, I gave the beacons around which I wanted my software to tell me what could be or which are the closest derivatives, because these are algorithms, this is maths. So which are the closest derivatives in terms of definition? And it then gives me 2 or 3. I pick one of them and I search that topic. And it will take me to a thesis in London, a thesis in South Africa, a thesis in Egypt. So I validate those topics that I give you. So let us not try to be too clever, some of us, because, you know, I personally, I would like to sit at a totally different level as far as AI is concerned. And that's why the conference I went in at Boston and Harvard recently, I was just amazed, and I said, my God, our people will be more marginalized than ever before because of AI. Because we run to AI and we type a topic and AI will give you anything it wants. But you are not directing. The important thing is for you to be able to direct that AI. And then once you get the information, you then come and form your own conceptualization of that knowledge. You see, so we're getting into that as seminar. I'll keep on talking about AI seminar 1, seminar 2, seminar 3. So it is not easy. And these topics, I took almost 4 weeks. If I was blindly going to AI, I would just go to AI and get a topic and paste it in your work. But those topics have been reasonably validated to be derivatives of your initial thoughts. And you'll find that most of those topics, the alternatives I've given each and every one of you in the assessment, don't take you away from where your mind was. And so the point is, which of those do you choose to start writing your chapter 1? I don't know whether I'm making sense, but I want to sensitize you. And I don't want people to keep telling me, we are going to have an AI software to detect whether you're using AI. It isn't that. When you give me your concept paper, I'll subject it. I'll take it through various streams. And I will know whether we are walking at the frontier of knowledge today or whether we are just being who we are, picking the easy options and hoping to get your qualification. So my desire is that we take this. I'll have 4 seminars. And some of these seminars don't say, but we have finished. We haven't finished. Until you are proposed already, we have not finished. So I thought I'll make that as an introduction. Secondly, I would like to let the class know that we have, as a university, our intention to become a research institution. In other words, to have more master's and postgraduate students than undergraduate. It pains me. Why are we competing with these young universities that came the other day for undergraduate students? Why are we recruiting students, diploma students? We are competing. There's nothing wrong in recruiting them, but we are competing. And if they don't come, our finances tilt or are tipped over. Why are we searching for certificate candidates? They should find it a privilege. Certificate and diploma students should find it a privilege to be tutored at Daystar as they prepare for the undergraduate classes. Because we should be the Chicago of Kenya. University of Chicago, the ratio is about 75 or 3-1. 3 being postgraduate, 1 undergraduate. And those students in undergraduate don't go and do masters. In fact, most of them go straight to do their PhD because of the level of instruction in that university. So I want to emphasize that we are very determined to lift you to another level, but only and only if you sacrifice and take up the challenge. So as Daystar, we have recruited 2 professors, associate professors. We are still hunting for a full professor to join our research directorate and the School of Postgraduate Studies, but they'll be anchored in a school. Like Ayiro, it belongs to the School of Business at Daystar. But their business is not to be given classes unless it is necessary, other than research method classes and statistics. So my Dean School of Business was asking me to take up a PhD class in quantitative. But because of my load, I have to carry all of you through these seminars. I've asked one of the new professors to take that class, which is quantitative, basically statistical. And we shall be introducing, I hope he's on the line, both of them, I hope they're on the line, They are reporting later on, but I asked him to be on the line, but start also helping our students. So I would like Dr. Maka, just 10 minutes, because I want to get into my business of the seminar.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. I want to definitely have the honor to let you know who is in class and then introduce the two professors to us.
Your volume is very low, or is it my... Okay, go ahead.
All right, I thank you so much, Prof. I have the honor to introduce to you who is in class and the two professors that you're bringing on board. And as I introduce them, I would also like to go to the Google Scholar for our doctoral students and our faculty, be able to see what they are doing and why they are coming in to support our research. Prof, in this class, we have different categories of people who have joined us. We have faculty who have joined us. We also have doctoral students, your class of 91 students who have joined us. We also have few students from other PhD programs that have joined us and the previous cohort that have already completed. We also have some deans who have joined us, some directors who have joined us. And of course, we have faculty from different institutions like Dr. Margaret Surima and others who have joined to be part of this class. So those are the categories of people we have, and they will be here. But now let me go to the hand. I have the honor of introducing our two professors. Prof, if you don't mind, I request you pull, then as they introduce themselves, I can showcase off their scholarly work that is available on the site. Let me start with Professor Edward. I don't know if you have your camera on.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Caroline. In 1 minute.
Yeah. Prof, we see if you can stop sharing, if you don't mind a request.
Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So I'd like to introduce to us one of our associate professors of research methods joining us, Professor Edward Owino. Professor Edward Owino, please have some 5 minutes to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you once more, Carol, our Vice Chancellor. Thank you very much. And to all who are present, good morning to you. I am Professor Edward Owino, an Associate Professor of Research Methods at Daystar University. I am very new and, of course, trying to converse with the norms and values of Daystar University. And it's quite a privilege to actually work in an institution where God's principles are the center of reference. I am very, very much honored to, of course, learn how things are done around here. And by so doing, also improve on my own personal well-being. Before joining Daystar University, I've taught research methods for over a period of 12 years elsewhere. And while I thought I knew it all, when I started interacting with Prof. Laban, I realized that I'm here to learn. So as much as we shall be working together with my colleagues to guide you as PhD students, we will also be learning a great deal from the great fountain of knowledge that is amidst us. I want to mention that, of course, what is being presented are a few of the research areas in which I have been involved before. But while working with particularly postgraduate students at your level, I want to believe that we shall be able to produce better quality research that will even enhance not only your research achievements, but it will also go a long way in also enhancing my own research achievements. We often encouraged to ensure that we produce quality papers with postgraduate students, papers that can be published. So we're looking forward to working with you and ensuring that the papers or the output that will come from our interaction will not be those which will only see the daylight at the shelves of our library, but instead will actually be seen all over and will have reasonable impact on humanity. So expect a lot from our interaction with you, and I equally expect to add much value to the student fraternity within Daystar University. Thank you very much, and back to you, Carol.
Thank you. Please welcome your new professor joining you, supporting you in your work. He will be part of people teaching you, try to connect. I have also the pleasure to introduce to us Professor Shem Otoi. Prof, I don't know if you're available. If you are on a camera, it will really be very nice. Professor Shem, so far, one thing as I said, you really come in on time even before I settle, and I see you already there. So Prof is here. Prof, have some 5 minutes to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ari. I would first remark that 5 minutes is a lot of time for a statistician. We do a lot of calculations and very little talking.
Right.
First, who I am Shem Otoi Odhiambo. I am a research statistician. Most of the time, you'd find me tinkering with figures to make sense out of them, which means qualitative analysis is part of what I enjoy most. That does not mean I don't enjoy qualitative. Before I joined Daystar University, I was teaching at Great Lakes University of Kisumu. I've been teaching research methods to both postgraduate and undergraduate students. Before that, I was at USIU. That was partly as adjunct faculty. I was teaching business statistics. Then there between, at the time COVID came into being, I have been involved in a lot of COVID research, from conceptualization to the point where we developed tools that supported recovery, not only nationally, but regionally, even globally. In the process, we developed quantitative tools, statistical tools that are modeling, that help to forecast and predict surges, recoveries, all through, and predicted all the 7 waves that we had in this country. I am equally an author of a book of the experiences that we've had during that time. Other than that, I have done publications on youth employment. In the last semester, the last seminar, I saw a wonderful student thinking with a topic on employment. I said, wow, I have done something quite similar. I would be of great help here if I get connected to this student. We go through this together. And I am enjoying that. What am I bringing on board? Energy. I'm bringing on board open mind. I always encourage my students when we're discussing to be open-minded and to think widely. All things that we do academically, once we try to limit our freedom of thought, we tend to be limited in our productivity. With that, I think I should end this there. I know we are going to work together to do a great work and improve the research standing of the university. Thank you very much, Dr. Ari, and thank you very much, Vice Chancellor.
Sorry, I actually, thank you so much, Prof. I think we stop it there as I showcase the profile. I think I just forgot it, but I think they are most welcome. Professor Shem Otoi and Professor Edward Owino, welcome to the directorate, welcome to the postgraduate and also the school that you are going to handle. But most important is, I hope you learn from your mentor who is taking us through the class today and give the students the best support. You're most welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And once again, Edwin and Otoi, you're welcome to Daystar. We are in the process of recruiting somebody from the University of Texas who is returning home as a full professor of not just statistics, but biostatistics, which is a much needed area today. What Shem did during the COVID, I'm sure he engaged essentially with biostatistics, and we would like to be strong there as we expand the School of Nursing beyond where we are today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to look at Seminar 1 as a seminar that is going to take us into Chapter 1. And I want to thank my colleague faculty members who are on this call, because we must have structured uniformity in how we package our Chapter 1. I know we have the graduate book, which is our Bible. But as Shem said, freedom of thought. I would like to see my PhD students argue as to why certain sections are where they are in our chapter as we supervise them. I have a lot of problems with our students, how they construct Chapter 1. So what I want to do is, I want to use a standard framework of what Chapter 1 should look like, every section, but that is not the Bible. You can argue it out yourself as supervisors and even as students. You know, students, the only difference between me and you is because I'm older than you. By the time you reach my age, you might be 10 times better than I am. So I always look at my students as colleagues in the making. So I have some thoughts about what really is a background of a study. So I'll use that as an entry point. Then what I've done, I've taken 3 case studies. One is in leadership, one is in business, one is in psychology. There's a 4th one in communication, but I will carry it forward to Seminar 2. So I've gone around the areas of endeavor, and I'm actually going to use your actual topics, that the actual areas of study. I'm picking a topic. So if you see I've picked a topic, I won't say the names of the students. If you see I've picked a topic from the suggested topics, then I'm actually guiding you to working with that topic, and not out of blind adventure, but out of looking at proactively, if we pick this topic, these are the variables, and this is how we're going to move in that topic. So allow me just to start with this, to create debate to this discussion, by opening up your mind and everybody's mind here on what I expect with this. And there's a lot of confusion. By the way, where there's no clarity of mind in research is when we begin to have a lot of problems. And those problems you work with. So, chapter one of your proposal is usually written in caps: chapter 1, enter, and then introduction in caps. And we're going to, when you start writing your chapters, we'll look at that. So chapter 1 is the introduction to the whole thesis proposal up to the thesis itself. And we must get this right. I know you're PhD students, you've done your masters, my colleagues are on call, they have their PhDs. But I want us to reflect on what we are saying. So if this was my chapter 1, this one was my chapter 1, the first item is introduction and background of the problem. You don't say background. No, you don't say background. It's ambiguous. Background to what? To the whole thesis, to the what? You are actually looking at the introduction and background of you are introducing the problem, and telling us a little about the background. So that will be 1-1 in your thesis or in your proposal. Now, the main points and direction, when you are developing this introduction and background of the problem, I don't want to see, and I've seen this all over. You have introduction, chapter 1, or chapter 1 introduction. Then 1-1, you start introduction. Me, I don't know what you're saying. It is introduction and background of the problem. If you have a scientific mind. Now, these are the main points that we should use. And I'm just saying main points when you're under this introduction and background of the problem. I'm not saying these are the ones that should be there. No, I'm just saying these are the main points. And when we are marking your thesis, this is what we are looking for. More importantly, when you are writing a fundable proposal, people are very keen to see what has this person put under introduction and background of the problem. Because that's why you're hired as a consultant. So you'll provide a brief history of the problem. And history of the problem, when you hear history, then it means it has something to do with the statistics of dates and perhaps the citations. Then provide a summary of the results from the prior empirical research on the topic. You begin to tell us this problem has been studied by Owino in 2018, Kamau in 2023, and Shah in 2017. And you are very brief, because if I want to know what Shah said, I will go and get it. And I'm being very specific to guide you. I'm saying identify 3 to 5 research studies, primarily from the last 3 years, and identify the stated need or possible research gap. Do you see at the entry of your chapter 1, I am already being enticed to something missing, the gap. And it doesn't have to be the last 3 years, 5 years. But me, somebody who gives me studies of the last 3 years, and even studies of the coming year, 2026, excites me. But one of you can give me a study of 1963. That is, if that study is a seminal paper, it has become the Bible in that area. And that when you're talking about governance, for example, like one of my students is doing governance on this constituency development fund. If you are doing a study on governance, wouldn't it be nice to see the latest thinking around governance? So, and you see, when people say, oh, AI is very easy, I just go to AI and get, you can't. No, you have to direct AI to what you want and then relate it to your study, and relate and then contextualize in your study. Then identify the need for the study or the defined gap that will lead to the research problem. So you are beginning to bring here what we call threading in the thesis. Right from the entry point, you are threading, you are creating a thread that we shall carry into the problem statement. And that thread, we shall carry it into our research questions, we shall carry it into our theoretical framework, we shall take it to the literature review until we finish chapter 3. So identify the need of the study. And you're not talking about the problem. Some of you, by the time you start this, you're already talking about the problem statement. And yet that will be part 1 of your chapter 1. Then build a justification for the current study by using a logical set of arguments supported by citations. And when I say citations, justify that, but CDF is so important in Kenya, and yet there's so much controversy around it, whether our legislators should carry out that function or it should be left to the governor since we have a devolved system. So you are justifying the argument, the gap, that you need to put some clarity so that we get it right. Because the truth is this, and I'm not preempting what I want to discuss with you. The truth is this, if you want to see the most effective and visible utilization of national resources, you see it in CDF projects. Me, I walk to my schools in Likuyani, I walk to my school in Kakamega when I've been the chairman of the county education board, and it is visible. Hardly would you see a national government structure, and even the county governments. I have seen in Kakamega when I was the economic and budget chair for Paranya. In Kakamega, we went against the grain because we were told money coming for education in Kakamega is supposed to be for ECDs and youth polytechnics. We said no. Kakamega High School doesn't have a road from the prison at the junction, those of you who know Kakamega, to the high school. It was all a muddy path. And that is the pride of Western. So we said we were going to do the road and lighting with that money. And then we expanded the dining hall. We went to Msingu, we did dormitories. We went to St. Peter's, we did a multi-purpose hall. But that was not, that was against the grain. So I'm just trying to bring up that build a justification for the current study by using a logical set of arguments supported by citations. Then discuss how the problem is applicable beyond the local setting and contributes to societal and all professional needs in a very parsimonious way, very brief. And I know we are a communication university. Oh my God, don't we know how to write? So because of that, you then give us an overview of what will be discussed in the chapter. I know you are feeling anxious to tell us what your chapter 1 will look like. Just tell us what will be discussed. Going into this chapter, you meet the problem statement, you meet the purpose, and all that. But because of clarity and preciseness, I want us to argue, and it's not Ayiro. I've had to look for a citation from a research book. The writing length should be a minimum 2 to 3 paragraphs or approximately 1 page. And note, I'm being mischievous here. I did not say a maximum. So if the minimum is 2 to 3 paragraphs and it can pass, so don't give me 10 pages for section 1.1 of your chapter 1. If you ask me, I don't expect my introduction and background of the problem to go beyond 3 pages. Font 12. I mean, I don't expect double spacing. Maybe 3 to 4 pages, and I'll have finished that section 1 of my study. I'm using this to introduce the tempo that I want this seminar 1 to take. I am not boxing you into anything, but I'm asking you to be bold and to reflect on what you want to tell us. So now I want to look at a case study. I want to pick a case study and run through chapter 1. So when we say introduction and background of the problem or to the problem, what do we expect? So I'll pick a topic from one of you, not mine, and then I'll tell you, this is what I expect in your introduction and background. If I see a thesis, now I'm just a high school teacher. If I see a thesis that has chapter 1 introduction, then 1:1 introduction, you have defamed Daystar. Yes, it just tells people what type of research we have in our university. If I see chapter 1 introduction, then I see 1:1 background. What background? Background what? Of Sufurias? Allow me to take this example, which I had intimated earlier, and the students whom I have picked the examples, I will supervise them. Because now I've spent a lot of time, I don't want to go and read chapter 1 again of another student. I'll supervise those, plus others, of course, the number that the schools will want me to help. But these I've taken from 3 schools, so I'm just taking 1:1. The rest you people can take them up. So I want us to look at this and use this as a case study for this seminar. I hope today is 10th, but if it's not 10th, just know we are in May, and we are safely in May. So this is the topic this student gave. Sorry. This is the topic this student gave. And it says the impact, and I found this very, very relevant because I have had these arguments. The other day, by the way, I don't know how many of you are keen. Parliament actually, I don't want to use the word bulldoze, but, almost remanded. They did not want the finance minister to leave Parliament without telling them when this money would go to their bank accounts. So it's a very important, relevant, applicable topic. So the impact of decentralization and local economic development in the concept of CDF in Kenya. And this is case study 1. We'll do case study 1 in detail. We'll also do case study 2. I think it's from School of Business, case study 3. Either communication, no, psychology. So chapter 1 is introduction. So this will be centered on top of that page. We shall have chapter 1. It will be centered here, like that. Chapter 1, introduction, and it will be in caps. And some of you are whispering now. This Ayiro is assuming that we know nothing. No, we still read Psalms 23. Every time I read Psalms 23, I'm still excited. The Lord is my shepherd. Now, if you look at this, if you look at this, introduction and background to the problem. look, I know there are psychology students, communication students, but this is development studies and even leadership and governance. What would you put under introduction from what the template I've just come from? You'll give us an overview of decentralization in Kenya. The decentralization was enhanced by the 2010 constitution. You're giving us some history. And that this national government, CDF, was established in 2003. And it's a very important tool aimed at promoting development through resource allocation to local constituencies. Republic of Kenya 2021. That's a document I'm quoting from. Now, have you seen, and I'm not talking about this topic, you think about your topic, you must give us an introduction and background of the problem, and please give us the history. Where is this coming from? I know sometimes when we pray hard, things just pop up. But where is this coming from? And then indicate to us the burden that instigated this CDF. By the way, I keep thinking it is this CDF that began to tell us we must devolve. I don't know, I could be wrong, but my mind tells me that could this have been the genesis of what was then amplified in the 2010 constitution, that we would then have devolved entities, although some people think there were too many. So this matter, introduction and background of the problem, is so important, either to your thesis, your proposal, but also your bid for that job in the World Bank or World Vision or UNESCO or even the county government when you want them to give you a consultancy. So we normally look at this introduction and background of the problem as the narrative hook, the thing that will make us say, this one knows what he's talking about. So I'll be looking forward, at least for those whom I will supervise, to a very strong introduction and background to the problem. And I've given you the indications. Now, look at the problem statement. And here I'm just doing summaries. That will be 1, 2. 1 is introduction and background to the problem. 1, 2 is the problem statement. Now, I have taught the problem statement. I have given you examples. And that will be our style. That will be our denomination template. You know, when you attend funerals, I belong to the PhD church. I almost know how the funeral procession will go. I know the pastor will open which verses until he says soil to soil, ash to ash, as you disappear from the surface of the earth. So Daystar must have his own template. And I'm pleading. But it doesn't have to be, structured rigidly like that, but it must have the template that we discussed. But look, for the sake of this chapter 1, I have just summarized and said, despite the significant financial resources allocated through the national government CDF, research indicates a lack of substantial impact on local economic development outcomes. Mismanagement, lack of transparency, and ineffective monitoring mechanisms impede the realization of the fund's intended goals, leading to persistent economic challenges within constituencies. When I look at the disparities between constituencies, when I look at disparities between counties, do you know when these disparities are outrageous, it means the citizens of that constituency or that county will never catch up with other Kenyans. So the other day I was the guest at Kahuya Girls for their Parents' Day. And I met the Member of Parliament. He was also there and other leaders. The chair of Equity. Wow, Muranga has what it is, what it takes actually. And the Member of Parliament mentioned something I thought was outrageous. He said, every primary school in my constituency has tiled floors. I couldn't, and I was listening. I said, what are you saying? He said, yes. So I said, when we leave here, I want to look at just 2 primary schools. But when you go to my constituency at home, there are apologies for flooring of classes, but it is filled with potholes, and the jiggers then invade our children. So do you see that whereas CDF has turned out the closest people feel what their taxes are doing, there are still issues within it, and research has to be done. Here I've just done one citation. I'm not going to teach the template because we have done the template of a problem statement where we have the visibility of the problem, give us statistics, give us citations. We have the problem clearly stated. We have the context, the studies that have been done around governance and devolution. Then we amplify the gap and we say, so this is what I'm going to study. And then you tell us the usefulness of your findings, the audience and consumerability. So that will be the problem statement. I want to see, by the way, I'm going to start a competition. The only problem, this is not a high school. If it was in a high school, I would have said the best problem statement. If I was mentoring, like I was doing Kenya High and other schools, or Bishop Gatimu, I'll tell them the best problem statement, I'll give 1,000 shillings. And the students would kill themselves. But if I tell you I'll give you 1,000 shillings, you tell me, why or what for? Maybe if I said 10,000, which I can't afford. So I don't need to motivate you artificially. That's what I'm saying. No, it's intrinsic. So what will I do with the best problem statements? We shall use them as case studies in our teaching in Daystar. So we will file them. We will copyright them. So instead of quoting Cresswell or Ayiro or what, we will be quoting your problem statement. I think that's the incentive that I would give. So that will be 1, 2. 1, 3, purpose of the study. The purpose of this study is to evaluate the impact of decentralization, specifically through CDF, on local economic development in selected constituencies in Kenya. A purpose statement, you must give me the demographic for a purpose statement. So you see, selected constituencies in Kenya, because you can't do for the Republic of Kenya, selected constituencies. That is the demographic. Selected schools, selected hospitals. If it's in psychology, where will you go? I must see it in the purpose statement, apart from what you're going to do. So this person is going to evaluate the impact. And we are right to evaluate the impact because we've been running CDF from 2003. It's time for us to evaluate. So the study aims to assess the effectiveness of fund allocation and community participation in achieving meaningful economic outcomes. That is the purpose. So again, can you construct your purpose to look like a PhD aspirant? Then we have objectives of the study. I'll not go through the objectives, but I have, because the purpose says, assess the effectiveness of fund allocation and community participation. One of the things I'm going to do is to assess the level of participation. So is this just a member of parliament, conclave, where white smoke comes and checks are issued, or there is participation? Evaluate the effectiveness of CDF in promoting local economic growth. So what has happened? How many schools, how many classrooms, how many bursaries have gone out there? Then identify the challenges and barriers. And by the way, these will be challenges and barriers are the tribulations we shall have put in our problem statement. And then, as a researcher at PhD level, you must give us solutions for improving CDF. The research questions are then reconfigured to align with the objectives. But they could be this study, this student, since I will be supervising this student, I'll insist it's a mixed method study. For obvious reasons, we are dealing with a lot of monies and figures and, schools and all those and students. But we are also going to deal with interviews from the people who are benefiting from CDF. So I'll expect research questions, but we must put in a hypothesis because it's a mixed methods. If it was not a mixed methods, then we would just end with the research questions and move on. So here, this is the hypothesis, although it is not framed the way I want, and I want the student to create argument with me on how we actually package the hypothesis, but increased community participation in CDF projects is positively correlated with improved local economic development outcomes. So what my hypothesis here is this: there is no significantly or statistically significant relationship between participation and development outcomes. So there's no statistically significant relationship between participation and development outcomes. Then I go out and try to either uphold or reject this hypothesis. Why am I saying that? Hypotheses, by the way, are more daring than research questions. Hypothesis, you are being bold enough to say there is no relationship. But research questions, you are just wondering. You are just wondering. And that's why I keep telling people, you can't, in today's world, and I think I saw Professor Levi Obonyo, in today's world, it's very hard to come up with a problem, solutions to a problem, if you're not pragmatic. In other words, if you are not walking in the space, in the continuum of mixed methods. But of course, you can do it. You can give us a fully qualitative study. I'll be cautioning many of you, if I supervise you, just by having a conversation with you in my office or in my online, I'll be looking out for your depth of language. Nikiona unasumbukana na language, just packaging language, and you're telling me, me, I'm a qualitative researcher, I'll tell you to think again. Qualitative research apart from the facts, to capture the observations in the appropriate language, to clean out ambiguity, to decipher what your interviewees are saying and put it in language. It's not an easy matter. So if you're like me, with limited language, find solace in mixed methods. Otherwise, if you're the one who starts saying, but the person said this and then he didn't say that, and then I was totally confused whether circumcision was as important as wedding ceremonies when the man married the wife. If you are that type of a person, you're going to struggle with qualitative analysis.
Prof, you have a question around the problem, if you may not move far from there, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Millie, you want to raise the question yourself? And happy Sabbath.
Happy day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning and sorry, Professor.
Yeah, no
just
problem.
Yes, I was just wondering,
Yeah.
in the case of NGCDF,
Yes.
if the problem or perceived problem from me is not whether CDF is working and the presumption that it is working, but the problem is the theory around which it is grounded.
Yes.
That the theory that was developed in the early 80s saw the role or constricted the role of members of parliament to legislation, representation, and oversight. Yet in an African context, which I believe, I've not done that research, but I suspect if I did the research on how traditional African communities were structured, I highly suspect that it was structured around leaders giving development solutions. Because everywhere you go, citizens expect leaders to offer development solutions, not to legislate and oversight and just represent. So that for me, the problem would then be, is there a problem with the theory of separation of powers, so that the problem is much less around CDF, but much more on the theory itself? I mean, I think it's presumptuous because then you have eminent people who have prominent, eminent scholars who've developed these theories over the years. So challenging that. Yeah, it's like challenging Professor Ayiro, who has many more years than you.
No.
So
no, thank
that's
you very
what I'm
much.
thinking. Is it possible that would attack the theory? Suppose the presumption is that CDF is working.
Very good. And it's because you are not in our, you came in a bit late, but we'll do patching up. But what you are saying here, you are actually saying my thesis would be around a theoretical gap. There are 7 gaps in research. So it's not the practical gap here we are talking about is not a methodological gap here. We're talking about a theoretical gap. And that's exciting. That's an area that we can pursue and then begin to bring out some new thinking around there. So yes, I have no problem. And by the way, that's what I'm saying. This is a prototype, but we are at liberty at student level, individual level, and even the class to be able to say from my literature, from what is causing pain to me or strain is that everybody keeps on saying leaders cannot engage in the actual delivery of development. Why? Because it is anchored in the theory that established this phenomenon of CDF. So, yeah, that is good thinking. And I'll refer you to the notes on theoretical gaps. And many of you, some of you will choose methodological gaps. Some of you will talk about experimental gaps, and so on and so forth. So that is good thinking. Now, I want to go to the rationale. So you see here, the student who has just asked this, the rationale would change, but assuming that we are walking down that topic, this study is significant for understanding the effectiveness of CDF as a decentralization policy. And you know, policies come from experimentation and theory, and its role in promoting local development. So as the Kenya government continues to invest heavily in decentralized programs, it is essential to analyze outcomes to enhance local governance and development practices. So here, we would then be thinking about the anchoring theories and policies around these development practices. Now that we are looking at that theoretical gap, what is the significance of your study? And I'm not talking about this one. You think about your study. The findings will provide critical insights for policymakers, helping them understand the strengths and weaknesses of CDF implementation. And by the way, Millie, we have to walk away, after we have done the theorizing, we have to walk away as we give strategies to actual effective CDF implementation. Who sits at it, and why should the local member of parliament be there? We shall have justified. This research could serve as a blueprint for enhancing future CDF initiatives and informing broader decentralization strategies aimed at fostering equitable development. Just look at our devolution. Do you see, if we do a good job at this research, do you know we have a big problem? Look at the health sector. We are really in between. We took it to the counties. We are thinking should have been at the central place. Look at TSC. Somebody is under an illusion that you can run a country's education system, basic education system, from a central place. It's an illusion. You know, there is so much bureaucracy and inefficiencies. Look at the disbursement of funds to schools. Look at the billions now in unpaid bills in schools. It is an illusion. You expect Teacher Service Commission to post teachers to Igunga Primary School. So you are just dealing with, you know, the staff establishment and saying Igunga is less by these teachers, let us send a teacher. Or the headmaster of Igunga Primary is an art leader. So the DEO favors him with teachers. And of course, TSC is too far away to know what's happening. That's another area. We are hallucinating. If we think we can run, as our country grows, we can run an education system from a center called Teacher Service Commission. I know it is controversial, but I know that if I had given Kangata of Muranga County to run education, basic education, or the MP for Kiharu, would have more effective delivery of basic education for children than what we are trying to do from the center. So this study can help inform similar initiatives across the country. Everybody in your chapter 1, you must give us a delimitation of your study, delimitation. And this is another place where we have a lot of confusion. Delimitation, please, if you don't like the word delimitation, put their scope of the study. But if you put their scope, and then your desire, your intellectual journey will not show movement. So this study will focus specifically on selected constituencies, or this study will be a national study, because now we are looking at the theoretical gap. And it will not encompass other forms of decentralization or development initiatives outside the CDF framework. So you have limited your scope. In other words, we will not want to see, we're not going to county governance in terms of decentralization. But if we are doing this at a national level, merely, then we can, if you're looking for the theoretical gap, we can carry it at national level, and it is possible. So delimitation, you are telling me where you will walk. But you must tell me why. So like this student will be saying, since my research gap is theoretical, a national approach will be necessary if we are going to come out with policies that will anchor the whole process nationally. The limitation of the study is where you must, at PhD level, you must exhibit your understanding of research methods. Because limitation affects the validity and the reliability of your findings. It is very dangerous. So potential biases in data collection, such as subjective responses from community members and officials, may impact the reliability of your findings. For my student here, I'll want you to convince me that the members of parliament will not carry their biases, and therefore the veracity of their pronouncements around the theoretical underpinnings of CDF will be a big challenge for you. You'll have very, very contrasting and almost tension between the different constituencies of the Kenyan public. So this was assuming we were using the other problem. There will be additional constraints, such as limited access to constituencies for field research, and the variability of project implementation may pose challenges. These limitations relate to the validity and reliability of your findings. And so we must tell the world how we are going to overcome those limitations. So if we are doubting the veracity or the pronouncements, for example, members of parliament, vis-a-vis the functionality of CDF, then we are going to triangulate our source of results here, our source of responses here. And it's up to you now to think, how do I overcome that limitation? So we'll do a lot of secondary review. If I were the one, I would find comfort in secondary review and studies on devolution, and even go to look at studies of devolution in a state like Texas in the US. You know, Texas is almost the size of Kenya, so the sub-counties there would be giving you an idea of the theoretical foundations that have made them succeed. to such a level that Texas is now the 7th largest economy in the world. It doesn't care about the United States, in quotes, apart from the national infrastructure and agenda. Then you will tell me the assumptions of your study. And this one I had said, we are assuming that we will get honest and accurate responses concerning their experiences. And here is a big assumption, because I can sample, Millie, I can sample members of parliament who were there when it all started. I can also look at national disbursements. I can also relate it to development indices of counties and try to hold my study true and say these assumptions remained true. But if they didn't, when we get to chapter 5, we shall come back and argue out in chapter 5 that one or two assumptions did not hold. And the study also assumes that the framework will be implemented consistently across the nation, in this case. You will do operational definitions.
Prof, before you move, there's an inbox asking, in their last class or during their PhD, you indicated that the PhD level would expect them to use the term scope and limitation as opposed to delimitation and limitations. So she's asking whether the stand is still
that cannot be me. I stopped using scope about 20 years ago. Maybe I had taken whiskey. It can't be me. Yeah. Assumptions, no, operational definitions, please. Operationalize your key terms. And the word of caution here is that any definition you give, you must tell us the source. Because you are still a budding researcher. So you can't start crafting your own definitions. You see, if you give a definition and you don't cite it, then we assume you are the author, you are the owner. The only space you have is with the conceptual framework. Would like to see, and you'll say by the author, you, after you have thought about the interplay of your variables in the study. So remember, operational definitions, please make sure that you actually cite them. I want to spend some little time, I'm just finishing. Then the other two study cases, we shall just run through them. Theoretical and conceptual framework. And I wish we had, and I hope we can have some time. I hope the Directorate of Postgraduate Studies and the Directorate of Research can also hold seminars. And we invite people to really cause debate around theoretical and conceptual framework. You must, in this case, Millie, you must give us your theoretical framework and I keep telling, even if this is a theoretical gap where we are saying the foundational theories that caused the formulation of policies around CDF did not take into consideration the cultural positioning of a leader. It is very important for you to note that in any types of leadership, it is about participation. So the theory of participatory development actually will strengthen your thinking. Because when you have participatory development, then you have the influence of a leader, and it then advocates for involving community members directly in decision making with their leader. So this theoretical framework provides the underpinnings and understanding how decentralization through CDF can impact local economic development. And here we are saying, so if we don't get the theories right, if the policy is not anchored, cemented in appropriate theories, then the efficiency and effectiveness of CDF then comes into question. So there is participatory development theory. I would want you to look at it in this theory. And you know, once you have participation, there must be a center for leadership. It's like a focus group. And what is the supporting evidence? Look at this one. This was very interesting. According to a study by Odwall et al., Odwall and others, constituencies with high levels of community engagement in CDF projects reported greater satisfaction and perceived economic benefits. And you know, to get high participation means you have an acceptable leader. That's why these people are participating willingly. And therefore, it puts into focus the Member of Parliament and the MCA. There is the decentralized theory. You'll either look at this, look at the decentralized theory, the distribution of authority, and this one justifies us from moving away from the center and creating CDF. So this will also help us to argue that after you are moved away from the center, you must have a leader at constituency level involved in the actual implementation. Then supporting evidence, and you can look at that. Then there's the social capital theory. Again, these are just thrown in your face for you to look at them and others that you might come across. Now, so what am I saying? Each one of us must delve and search. So let's again, how do you use internet resources? You must ask the right questions. And to ask the right questions, you must have sharpened your skills of research methods. Then you'll get the material you'll need, and then now you package it into the works you are engaged in. Finally, the conceptual framework, it just outlines the relationship between key variables involving the impact of CDF. We will tweak this one depending on how we want, which gap we are chasing. But these are the independent variables. And I think you need to think very carefully, because whatever it is, the engine inside there, when we open the engine to overhaul it in terms of theories and policies, what people see outside is a moving vehicle. So we will have to think very carefully, how do we do that so that the core variables, the independent variables, would be what? If it is efficient implementation, that means the architecture is right. And it rotates around community participation, leadership, and resource allocation. Then the dependent variable, the outcome, is the development, the local economic development, where indicators are employment growth, economic levels of income, etc. And I keep encouraging Kenyans, all of us, let us tour our country, even before the next elections. Why don't you tour the country? When you hear people talk about Muranga, please go there. Don't say, no, go there and just see. we are all influential people in our communities. Maybe you learn why cash crops are very important, that have made people from certain regions to be empowered economically. So income levels are very important. You cannot have a supermarket in my local town, Chavakali. You can't put there a quick mart. They'll wait the whole day and then sell 200,000. But if you plant the same quick mart in that other constituency, in that other place, they are raking in 10 million. So that's what economic development is all about. There'll be moderating variables, and I'll be interested with the student to say which are these moderating variables and which are the independent and dependent variables. So that will cause discussion. And then the expected relationship between variables, you'll do a visual presentation, and then you'll map your references as shown. Remember, Daystar references APA 7th edition. So you must get to APA 7th edition. I'm going to be, if I touch this, Professor Lando, Professor Bonyo, they'll tell me, Ayiro, you are dismantling our thinking. But, you know, I'd be very excited if I saw somebody use the Chicago style of referencing to just excite me. But I don't want to go there. We leave that. We'll be at APA because that's where we are comfortable. I want to give an interlude of 10 to 15 minutes for discussion. Then we'll look at case study 2, case study 3. We are now in chapter 1. The train is leaving the station today, and I expect after 2 or 3 weeks, we will all be supervisors, all these lecturers on this call. And we will pair the coordinators of this, the deans of the various schools will give us who the supervisors are, and we move. We finish chapter 1. Once I see the number of chapter 1s that have come in are good, we move to chapter 2, literature review. We do the seminar. Then after that, we expect chapter 2s. Then we move to chapter 3. I do the seminar, and our proposals are ready. Dr. Mwaka, over to you.
Right, sufurias of what? Okay, hands are up. Simon Tumbo. Simon, I don't laugh, Tumbo, just ask your question.
Thank you, Dr. Mwaka and Prof. Without, seeming to be very pedantic, if you go to the topic, the title, I think you mentioned something like it should not be more than 13 words. I think this one was like 16 or something. Thank you.
Yeah, around there. Who was that? Is that Simon?
That's Simon Tumbo, yes.
Simon, you know, when mothers go to the clinic,
yes, yeah,
for jabs for their babies, they don't say they must be 13 kilos to be defined as healthy. There's a range, yeah? There's a range. There's a range.
Okay, yeah. Fine, thank you.
So don't be imprisoned by that, yeah.
All right, more hands as you open up your mic. Ruth, ask your question yourself. Ruth, go ahead, open your mic.
Now, maybe let me address this one, Carol. This is interesting. Yeah. The one you had is Ruth, huh? Mm. Yeah, I want, and my colleagues are on this call. Do you know, I am, you know, for us, Catholics pray differently. The mainstream evangelical churches, I mean, the mainstream churches, then we have the evangelicals. In my PhD church, maybe this is what I'm bringing to this discussion. You know, I can enter my church at home, and just during worship, I am carried by the Spirit and I go in a corner. Normally, I carry my pillow for kneeling, and I kneel in a corner. And throughout the sermon, I'll be in that corner, praying to God about one or two things that are depressing me. I find it, and I have to keep hammering at this, what Ruth is asking. Ruth is saying that, but we are not allowed to have theoretical and conceptual frameworks in chapter 1. I think that's basically what she's saying. And I'm saying this, so be it. But for me, I don't know how you're going to have a conceptual framework, even how you're going to jump into constructing literature review without having had an interaction with your theory. I don't know. Because to come up with my variables of the study, even to come out with introduction and background to the problem, I have encountered the theory. So all I'm doing here, Ruth, is that as I walk away from chapter 1, here, towards the end here, I am convinced I want to tell my readers that this will be the theories. By the way, I have not done anything. I'm just stating the theories. I've not even expounded how the theories actually anchor my study, because I know in chapter 2, I'll have the latitude to dance the whole stage. And if you're talking of the theory, then you will be bringing out the variables that are prominent in the study. So you'll have to talk about the interplay of the variables in your conceptual framework, even if it's just a half a page. Me, I see no contradiction. I don't see a duplication, but I stand to be guided. And then again, I want to submit, maybe this is the culture we have adapted in public universities. Because I went through KU and then I was teaching in Moi, and I mark exams at Nairobi, Cape Town, those universities. There's no way you'll finish a chapter 1 without the candidate mentioning the theory and conceptual framework, then walking into chapter 2 to expand. But I see no controversy. If you find it safer there, that's okay.
All right.
Yes.
Boniface, do you want to ask the question directly? Although it's personal to you, maybe it might help one or two people.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, go ahead,
thank you,
please.
Dr. Carol. So in the concept assignment that we just submitted to Professor, he mentioned that my objectives were not SMART. So I would like maybe Professor to expound on the same about his expectations of SMART objectives.
Of objectives, yeah. Good question, and that's truly valid. You see, what's his name?
Boniface.
Boniface, the struggle I have is that if I read your objectives and I'm not seeing the interplay that your topic indicated to me that I would encounter, I begin to say those objectives are not SMART. That's one. Two, if I read your problem statement and it doesn't push me towards guessing or idealizing what I expect you would be going out to look for, because these objectives are the things you're going to chase out in the field, they're not SMART. Finally, I want objectives that are literally short and smart. That doesn't mean the buibui is not smart. No, overflowing dresses are also smart. But a smart objective is, and I don't want to get into the, specific, measurable. I don't want to get into those. I'm just being general on the outside. But when I look at your objectives and put there smart, I am looking at whether is it specific to the variables of the study? Are they measurable? Does it seem to be time bound? etc. All right. If there are no more questions, I want to go to case study 2.
Yeah, thank you. Unless Professor Shem, any of those professors, if you're in, you want to make a comment on that as we move to case 2. Professor Alice Munene, we always have an honor to have you. Thank you.
Alice is on the call.
Yes.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Allow me to go to, now this one I'm just going to run through very fast because we've spent a lot of time on case study 1. I wanted to know the student who, without her permission, I didn't want to name the person. I think it's Mwaka who. I didn't want to say whose work it was, but now that it's known, Odhiambo, what's your impression of this seminar that is using your case study? Is it opening up your mind as you go into writing your thesis?
Millie?
Is she online?
Yeah. Millie, you can take it on.
Yes, sorry, I'm online, but I missed the question, please.
Yeah, I'm just saying I used your submission without reference to you because you are going to remain unknown. But what do you make of this seminar as we present it? Not necessarily about your topic, but what a chapter 1 should look like.
I think for me, it's giving better clarity. It's giving better clarity in terms of what chapter 1 should be. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's I had a lot of clogging when we were doing the assignment in terms of just framing the theoretical, but within the 500 words. I'm not very good with a few words. But I think as we go through the trainings,
I have no comment on that one. Yeah.
So it's good because it's helping guide us, and yeah, I think it's good. The seminar is good. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other, 1 or 2 others from a different school? Not necessarily. Can we have 1 or 2 reactions? What is coming through here?
Yes, Victoria. So Millie, now it's your case is there. You might have to get to work with Prof so that you can follow up and other things that can be worked with Magdalene. Victoria? Victoria? Yes.
Sorry, there's no power here. But thank you, Professor Ayiro. It was very enlightening for me. And like I've said even in the past semester, every session like uncovers. For me, it like brings something new on the table. So it matters understanding. For me, what has come out clearly and what I have also put in the chat is the issue of the theoretical framework and conceptual framework. Even when we are discussing, when we go deeper and look at the theories surrounding the the topic or the research. And also the conceptual framework where we look at the variables and the indicators, it like gives you a deeper meaning for your research. It actually opens your mind up. So I think for me, this has been very instrumental in also charting the way forward. Well, there may be a little bit of hurdles, in maybe crafting the topic, but you see, even with the theoretical framework and the conceptual framework, your objectives also come out clearly. So you'll find that what you'll be grappling with is not something that is amorphous. It will be just little things that can be adjusted here or there. So I'd like to thank you, Prof, for your sessions. They are very enlightening. And I believe I'm talking on behalf of the majority of the people. However, I would have a question, maybe on the concepts that we wrote, and perhaps ask the team to guide us on when we can present our concepts so that we are more confident as we go on to chapter 1, chapter 2, and eventually chapter 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's it's up to us as a university under the guidance of the deans, my deans. I think now that we have started these seminars, I want each student to have two supervisors allocated, and we will then begin to receive refined concept papers. I really would just want to receive a chapter 1. I want a chapter 1 then, because I don't want you to try chapter 2 when we have not done the seminar on chapter 2 and chapter 3. But mentioning research gaps, and I'm glad that the student whose case we are using is going to chase a theoretical gap. So please revise your notes and also ask yourself, is it an evidence gap? Is it a practical knowledge gap? Is it an empirical gap? Is it a population? Is it a methodology? I think it just makes sense when you are able to know the gap you are engaged in your study. So it'd be interesting to have that on the mind of every one of us here. Now, I want us to look at this one, and we'll do this very quickly. This is a student, and this one, again, just from the School of Business. Impact of microfinance on women's empowerment in Kenya's agricultural sector. So we have agreed chapter 1 will be introduction. 1.1 will be introduction and background to the problem. The history. Remember the history, overview of microfinance in Kenya. And this is from the 1990s. And by the way, the microfinances were supposed to address the marginalization of women, particularly, who had no titles to borrow money from the banks and so on and so forth. Now, because we are talking of microfinance, give us the history, but also empowerment, women empowerment in the agriculture sector. I found this topic very current, very rich, and appropriate. So in your introduction and background to the problem, we talk about microfinance, the institutions, MFIs, and then we talk about women and agriculture in Kenya, and we know they are the backbone. Most of us stand on roads and markets and go home in the evening to demand for food. But they have limitations. They face barriers, access to credit, land, education, inhibiting their productivity and empowerment. I really would like to get to know this student, because this is an area where I am just emotionally driven there. because I know the magic in Kenya will come when women are actually empowered and liberated without bias. And just economically, if I go to the market at Soy in the evening at home, I mean, that whole activity between 4 o'clock and 7 in the night are women running with goods to sell and so on. And then you ask them, when did you get home? And some of them tell you they're coming from 20 kilometers away. And that's the same replicated across Kenya. Sagana here at the market, these bananas around when you're going to Embu, it's all women. So this is a very worthwhile. It is worthy of study. And then look at, so you are giving us an introduction and background to the problem. Overview of finance, women and agriculture, challenges of women in agriculture. And you see, agriculture is 23% of our GDP and employs 40% of our population. And yet, women empowerment is limited due to gender-biased, inequalities, and so it affects, food security, nutrition of the children. And so microfinance is very important. And then the problem statement. So despite of increase in microfinance services targeting women, we have limited empirical evidence on their effectiveness in achieving women's empowerment, particularly in agriculture. And you see many women report not only financial, but also psychological barriers when assessing credit. So this study will explore how microfinance influences various dimensions of women's empowerment, which include economic freedom, decision-making power, and social capital. And we will build a very strong problem statement. I don't want the student to say who she is or he is until I finish running through this. So the purpose of the study is to assess the impact of microfinance on women's empowerment in Kenya's agricultural sector. So the demographic, this is a national study, because the number of microfinances, MFIs, we will sample them across the country. Even if you did one in every county, those are just 47. So if you look at the topic, impact of microfinance on women's empowerment in Kenya's agricultural sector, so the objectives is to examine the relationship between microfinance access and economic empowerment, evaluate how microfinance influences women's decision-making, assess the role of social capital developed through microfinance groups in enhancing women's empowerment in agriculture, and then provide recommendations. By the way, you must give a solution at PhD level. So if it's not a recommendation, is strategy, is new thinking, and so on. I would expect an objective like that to always work with you in your thesis. How are you addressing that distress yourself? I think Mahmoud in Bangladesh, the famous, who brought around women, and women have empowered themselves through that banking, and it is now a model across the world. Do you know women, in spite of them being marginalized, I think when it comes to people who have money in their pockets, it's women. Men don't have, I'm not talking about the general population. They have a lot of gain and purpose, and there's a lot of social capital. I don't know how many of you come from where our town in Eldoret. There is a fish not a fish market. There's a fish selling place with kiosks. Before devolution, those people are selling fish in open space, water was not running, dirty places. And then the first governor, Mandago, put up kiosks. One of the best projects for me, very neat kiosks, where you have a dining, you have a kitchen, and you have sanitation behind, toilets. Do you know those mamas? They have such a huge cooperative society. Those mamas you see selling fish there are building houses, estates in Eldoret. So that's why this study would be very interesting. And I would urge you, the student here, please don't run away from mixed methods. And I'm not influencing you because I'm a mixed methods researcher. So I would want you to set up a hypothesis, which then says, this hypothesis talks about, let me blow this up, talks about access to microfinance is positively correlated with increased economic and social empowerment of women. I think what we just say is that there's no statistically significant relationship between availability of microfinance and women's empowerment in the agriculture sector. Then we'll go out and establish whether that is true or not. The rationale, I think I've indicated in my discussion, the significance. The rationale is the so what. If this does not happen, then the discourse on gender equality and economic empowerment is useless. So this will provide evidence to strengthen policy frameworks and program designs aimed at enhancing women's empowerment. The so what, the rationale is so important that if this study, if we don't do this, if we don't, these are the consequences. The significance of the study, I think we are aware. Significance of the study, who will partake of them. And I'm very particular in the problem statement. Who will eat what of your findings? So this will hold significant implications for policymakers, microfinance institutions, agricultural stakeholders, and non-government organizations. But you must tell me how. I've summarized, but you must tell me how will the policymakers benefit, or the NGOs? This is Njeru's study is very interesting for this student. By illustrating, I opened up this study. It will really anchor your whole thesis. By illustrating the transformative potential of microfinance for women, the study will inform future strategies to empower women through sustainable agricultural practices. Delimitation, we are talking about selected regions in Kenya. We'll discuss with the candidate, but we want to get women who are engaged only in agriculture, not other areas. So this is the delimitation. The limitations of the study, biases introduced by self-reported data, where women may overstate their empowerment experiences due to social desirability. You know, they can be thinking of heaven and feel inspired to tell you, oh, hii samaki yangu, hii biashara yangu ya kuuza miogo na viazi. Hata nashinda graduate teacher kwa primary yetu hapa. You know, so be careful. And then assessing communities and so on. Assumptions of you see, like this empowerment, you might be tempted to want to visit some of these respondents' homes. Depending on your agenda, it could cause a lot of constraints. What are you doing in my home? Sounds simple, but those are some of the obstacles. Assumptions, you'll have to deal with them and tell us how you'll overcome them. Operational definitions I've already discussed. theoretical framework, there's the empowerment theory, and I'm just throwing this at you. There's the economic development theory, there's the gender and development theory, the conceptual framework, core variables, and then these are the independent variables. Then you'll move to the dependent variable, which is women empowerment. And remember, there's economic, social, and very important, psychological empowerment. Just reflected in a woman's confidence and agency in assessing their needs and rights. That for heaven's sake, she can join that cooperative and have a 2-bedroom house in Eldoret town. And they're feeling confident and asserting their needs and rights. And it's not a matter of us telling them, "Where's jenga, majenga nani, was what, and so on." Then moderating variables. Some people don't believe in this, but this student, I really want us to explore this. Socioeconomic background, education level, marital status, may influence the impact. You see, with education, when you get that microfinancing, you will use it better. You'll also seek independence from vouchers that want to get the money from you, and so on and so forth. Marital status. But also, I don't know whether, I would like people to tell me, what I'm finding very unique is this. When I go to Kisii, I see mamas. When I go to Meru, I see mamas. When I go to Maragoli, Mbale, Chavakali, I see mamas. So it seems this social economic dynamics for women are universal. It seems. I don't know. It would be interesting for us to look at some of those norms and practices. And then the relationship between the variables, you do the visualization, and then you'll give us the references. So that's an example from our School of Business. Now, I just want to do, with your permission, one, and then I have got to get running because I am a guest at Buruburu Girls this morning for their function. Now, let me pick the third study case I was working out for this class.
Prof, if you don't mind, Sami, again, development studies. Sami, you want to go? Mwenye, I always really struggle, but I know I get right. Here's a question.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Prof. A quick question on two issues on delimitations. You've guided us in the past that at PhD level, we shouldn't be just referring to studies in some limited areas that a Chinese reading wouldn't understand. But I've also come across some schools of thought where there's a concern on, is there a geographical scope that would be difficult to make an argument for? And therefore, a student must be careful on that. So, for example, if I'm doing something that impacts on multiple countries in East Africa, or like in this study, if you're picking Kenya, is there some other considerations around the ability to either collect the data or to, to apply that finding across that? That's one question. And secondly, if we go back to the example you've just shared, the objectives, is it okay to look at objectives where the first objectives will perhaps be on the independent variable, then the second one on the dependent variable, and then the third one is where you draw a correlation, if any? Okay. I saw the first objective here seem to be already drawing a relationship. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a very sober input. I want to say this. Just give me a minute. I want to say this. On the structuring of objectives, I don't think we can committenize anybody. It just depends on what you want to collect data on first. After all, they're just, by the way, those objectives and research questions, you break them down to give you the items in your questionnaire. That's where the items in the questionnaire come from. So I don't want us to be regimented, and I would discourage that. And when you're crafting objectives, and maybe it will come clear when I do seminar 2 on literature review. How do you package your literature review? Some people will say, let us start with literature on the dependent variable. Others say, let us start with literature on the independent variables, and then look for literature on the relationship between the IV and the DV. And I'll be detailing that, then refer back. And that is called stringing. Refer back to your objectives and see whether they actually speak or they are born out of your literature review. But I don't want us to be regimented. I think that's a very interesting question you've given. When I said, I don't want you to write Majengo County in the title or in the Bururu, it is just that. You want titles that are universal as much as possible, unless it is a case study. But does it mean you're going to do a study in those other demographic areas? No. When you come to the delimitation in your chapter 1, you then unpack your title and indicate that this study will be in this area. Just like when you go to the purpose, you tell us where the study will be, but also you tell us who the respondents will be in your purpose. So let's be very careful. I just find it very unattractive. And I guess we used to, as lecturers in Moy University, we really used to get, I don't want to use the word I want to use, but everything was around a sub-county or a county. Then we asked ourselves why, and we said it's because we have not encouraged our students to be universal. Then when somebody gets into the thesis, finds out, oh my God, so this study was actually done in Nairobi County, Langata sub-county. But you see, the attractiveness and even the article being cited by other people in the world is universal. And they begin to think, this is a universal study. The only difference is that this is the demographic. Are we going to generalize? No, we can't generalize if it was not a quantitative study. But we can look at the literature. We'll get useful literature because this person was universal in searching for literature and might narrow down to where they're doing their study. Like the methodology chapter, they can benefit from your study and cite you if you are universal, if you have attracted them. But if they see Ireho Mulusu sublocation, Kakamega County, in the title, you have lost them. So it is up to you and your supervisor. And by the way, the person who supervises you, inevitably you'll carry the character of that person. So I don't want to interfere there. I want to leave, but that's a very thoughtful question, and I want to thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to run very quickly because of time. I have some power fluctuation here, but I hope it won't let me down. I think this is from psychology. I don't know that that is a spelling of psychology. Yesterday at 1 o'clock, that thing gave me a lot of trouble. I kept on saying, is this psychology? Is psychology PH? I don't
Prof,
think it's right.
do you want the students to react on this work if they know their work?
No, yeah. Who is this? Whose work is this? Thank you. The one I've just finished on microfinance. Is the candidate on the call? Not on the call. Okay. Let's go to
Good.
yeah.
Good. It's Mombi. You had given it as a proposed topic, and I'm in development studies, specializing in gender and development, not in the School of Business. However, you've given good guidance, and I'm excited to venture into this because I had really focused on how the women, especially in the rural areas, and how they have benefited from agricultural activities. And your guidance has really shed more light on what I need to do. And now more specifically looking at how microfinance can help women. Initially, I was looking at how they can benefit in terms of value addition activities, how they can get finances to channel them into value addition activities. And this has really given me direction on what exactly I need to venture into. So thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll pick it up. If you want us to sit in the area of value addition, we can still, but we'll discuss that later. This is the last case study, and this was sound psychology. I'm still struggling whether that is the spelling of psychology, but I hope it is. Cultural norms and attitudes toward alcohol consumption in public sector employees in Kenya. In fact, it had been in Murang'a, but I put there Kenya. And again, for the reasons I've explained, but have we lost Murang'a? No. When we go to looking at the delimitation in terms of demographics, we shall then say it was carried out in Murang'a County. We have agreed that introduction and background to the problem will give us something to do with the history. This was interesting. Alcohol consumption has been prevalent in Kenya for many years, often being a significant aspect of social and cultural interactions. So those of us who drink, when you go somewhere and they bring tea and water, people say, no, I don't take these things. How can you drink water in such a function? Wani ile kitu ingine haiko hapo, whatever that kitu ingine is. Now, according to the World Health Organization, Kenya's alcohol consumption per capita stands at approximately 4.2 liters of pure alcohol among individuals aged 15 years and older, which is above the African regional average. You see, already your introduction and background to the problem is already indicating the problem. We are over drinking. And Kenya Breweries used to have a gift for the regions that drink most. And I don't want to mention the region that kept on winning the title continuously over many years. And then public sector. Why am I bringing in public sector employees? Because that's the reference point. So you now talk about them. The importance of the public sector and alcohol assumption among them is a great concern because it inhibits productivity. So cultural norms and societal attitudes towards alcohol use can influence drinking behavior within this demographic. Cultural context because in the title, we have talked about cultural norms and attitudes. So cultural context, you'll have to talk about cultures embracing drinking as an integral part of social gatherings, and understand that these cultural norms are crucial for addressing alcohol-related issues within public institutions. Then we do the problem statement. And here we'll craft a very strong problem statement and say, although we know the impact of alcohol consumption, and we do citations and statistics to strengthen the manifestation, we know that drinking behaviors among public servants is on the increase, and this hinders effective workplace policies and interventions. I mean, this hinders development of effective workplace policies and interventions aimed at mitigating alcohol-related problems by Kibera. Therefore, examining the interplay between cultural norms and alcohol consumption among these employees is vital. But me and the other supervisors with you will decide the manifestation, the problem itself, the context, the gap, and the usability of your findings. The purpose, this comes down to Kenya, but you should begin to say this would be in Murang'a County, because that's where the study was intended to be. Then the objectives. Remember, the whole issue is about cultural norms. This is not just about alcohol consumption. This is about cultural norms and attitudes towards alcohol consumption. So when you are doing your objectives, it's about examining the cultural norms and those ones in the public service, because that's what the topic says. And then you'll provide recommendation. There are research questions, and if you have this as a mixed methods and not, there'll be a hypothesis. Whether there's a relationship between attitudes and cultural norms with reference to alcohol consumption. And then rationale of the study, the why, very strong. And the why is very strong. The study aims to contribute to the literature on alcohol consumption and workplace health, providing insights that can guide policy formulation and program design in public sector institutions. So that's the rationale. Otherwise, there'll be too much wastage in the public service. Significant who will partake of this, and I want to emphasize, this is not a good significance description. I don't like it. It's not the best, because we identify the beneficiaries, but we don't indicate how each of them will partake of the findings of the study. We have talked about delimitation. Now look at this one. Public sector's employees in where? Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Murang'a, where? So you'll be able to give us, and why. Limitations, self-reporting is a major limitation. And then access to data. And you know, alcohol is sensitive. People don't know why you're following this up. So it can be a challenge. Then you deal with assumptions, where we assume that cultural norms being studied will significantly influence the drinking behaviors. That's an assumption. But there are people, you know, it's like pili-pili. When I visit some homes, and they have put pili-pili in the food, I start crying. But everybody else is just eating normally. So there are people who drink alcohol and they have no problem. They drink alcohol, they still go and do their work. They have no issue. So we'll have to to watch our assumptions. Operational definitions, cultural norms, alcohol consumption, public sector employees, and cites them. Theoretical framework, social norms theory, cultural theory, health belief model. We'll have to go through them, these candidates, and for you. So I hope it is getting imprinted in your mind that each and every one of us must search out a theory. You are not expounding, you're not telling us how it relates to the various variables in your study and how you want to join it up, but you're just telling us this theory, you'll use it. Like look at this cultural theory, for example. The cultural theory emphasizes the deeply rooted beliefs and values within a society, model individual behavior, including substance use. This theory will inform the exploration of how cultural practices and beliefs shape attitudes toward alcohol consumption, particularly among public sector employees. That's all. You have just told us that this is the theory that you'll use. Then when we get to, and that justifies the variables. The variables like cultural norms, indicators, acceptance of drinking, taboos, and stigma. And these cultural norms, you have seen kids going to social places, even in Nairobi, and they are exposed to alcohol. Or they come into houses where alcohol is all over, so it becomes an acceptable attitude. Dependent variable, alcohol consumption, consumption frequency, and quantity consumed. Then moderating variables, and then you set up the relationship among variables. I didn't have time. I would have drawn a conceptual framework, but I'm also nervous because people think, oh, he's planting conceptual framework in chapter 1, and yet the graduate book says it should be in chapter 2. And then conclusion on that chapter. But for me, I think the person who did this, the findings of this study will contribute to expanding scholarly discourse on alcohol consumption within specific cultural contexts and help policymakers tailor interventions to address alcohol-related issues effectively. So that will end your chapter 1. Then you'll give us some references. I would like to encourage all of us to follow this same format and to dig deep and really come out with works that will make you worthy. The other day I was asking my librarian, why aren't you putting the thesis in the repository, every thesis, to increase visibility? She said, our fear is works that were done earlier on. We try to put them through Turnitin, and they were all read. So we fear putting them up as a thesis, works that were done, maybe 5 years ago. So we have decided we're going to do the abstract. We'll put the abstract only. That's what we are avoiding. And by the way, AI to me, is a solution to plagiarism, a big solution. Because how I think, how I instruct my software, and how I use it to conceptualize my understanding of an area will be different for each one of us. I thank you all. I'll stop there. Invite about 10, 15 minutes, then I've got to get ready for Buruburu Girls. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. I think now that we're in a seminar, you can use emojis for clapping, unlike now when we're in class. So the seminar allows that because no end of class assignment. I know Carol Teti is really fearing, and Jaggy, that they might begin an assignment to go and write, but this is now your work. So, all right. So basically, this is Prof presentation. We have any questions? Please lift up your hands and Then we'll also have our faculty, if you have any, will definitely. Edward, yes, go ahead, Edward.
I think for me is to really appreciate.
Prof, you can pull down you can pull down the screen. Okay, thank you.
Yes, for me is to really appreciate that topic is mine, the one on that has been presented. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, it is mine. A student in psychology. I'm really grateful, Professor. First, to reach to this point whereby I'm able to conceptualize and even concretize the problem that is there and that which I need to really build on. So I'm really grateful for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, next question.
Doesn't have to be a question, comments, worries, all those things.
Right, so yeah, of course. Tracy, I know you attended the masters. Yes, you wanted to say you are now comparing the two. What do you think? You were in a master's seminar and you're a PhD. I know you're a PhD student, obviously, Tracy.
Thanks, Dr. Catherine. Yes, I attended both seminars and I think all have been equally informative, and I just want to say thank you for putting this together.
Right. Thank you, Hussein.
Thank you, Dr. And thank you, Prof. This is really very encouraging. And whenever I attend your classes, I usually go a step ahead and learn new things. Thank you for that. I was trying to search for some of the 3 articles or journals you have recommended for me, and I could not trace them in the online. My question is, can I use an alternatively? Others are very close because these I searched them and they are not available. Thank you.
Are you sure they're not available? Yeah, it's the databases. Some of them you must, me, I'm subscribed to many databases. The university I supervise students have given me their links. My alma mater, Texas and McGill have their links. I have the Daystar one. I have the Moi one. So, but anyway, if you are struggling, let me know. But we will help as much as possible.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, and of course, usually the library, Kung is a very good person in terms of helping. Jimmy Gore and then Victoria Mwangi and Dr. Jackie Anundo, Amref University. Please feel free to make up your comments. Yes, Jimmy, and then Victoria.
Yeah, yes, I think from the conversations and from the presentation, I think I just want to agree with everyone. This is very helpful, and thank you, Prof. and Dr. for supporting us in this journey. There seems to be an obvious bias towards mixed methods. I'm just wondering if there are contexts where we'd highlight a bit around the qualitative. Or is it, are we saying that at this level, no qualitative?
Not really. And don't be biased. You forget about my bias. Huh? We can do that study qualitatively by just not introducing objectives that require measurable data, or if it requires it's at descriptive level, not inferential level. No, I'm just leaving this open so that I run across the 3 continuum of qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods. But it depends on you, where you are. There are people here who will not have anything to do with a qualitative study. They are mathematically oriented, so they just want to do a quantitative study, and fine, we'll go with that. So don't feel compared, not at all. Yeah.
Victoria?
Prof, may I add something?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Prof,
thank you very much, Prof, for this seminar. And thank you, Doctor, for organizing it. I would like to point out that the preference or the bias towards mixed method gives us the benefit of reproducibility of results. If it is done in different contexts, in different settings, then the reproducibility of results make it more appealing, more scholarly. But we are not tied to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof. Victoria, you wanted to ask a question? It might be tied to this.
Yes, very fast. Thank you once again. Mine is on the AI. I love the sentiments that have been put across just for AI to be used in a way that is constructive and that will enable us add more knowledge, not only to ourselves, but to the school of knowledge. Mine is to just request for an AI session from the department. And also if Professor could just give us an AI recommendation of his AI use. Thank you.
Yeah, noted. That's valuable.
Yeah, the AI seminars are coming up, organized by Prof in partnership with other institutions. So you are going to have more to ask all of us so that you know how to usefully and actually use AI as opposed to your blessing you as a person. So we'll definitely want to have that very soon. And I know Jackie Madaka is hearing the same thing as we talk. Yes, Professor Edward, do you have any comment?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mwaka. That was a great presentation by Professor Ayiro. And just to add on to the presentation, I wanted to mention that like in the case of the last case 3, I saw a situation where the student was not adhering to the APA style. So it's good to converse with the APA style so that you don't number your references as 1, 2, 3. You arrange them alphabetically. Second to this, I want to also mention that I saw in the 3 cases that Prof has presented, in every other case, we would either see a moderating variable or a mediating variable. And I want to encourage our students, especially at the PhD level, that it is important to actually be more holistic so that whenever you're proposing a topic to study, it's not just one directional, that the independent variables are affecting the dependent variable. Think about other variables within the context that could actually be influencing the study so that there could always be a case of a moderating variable or a mediating variable to make the whole study complete. Other than that, I think this is a very enriching session by Prof, and I'm certain that our students and colleagues are gaining from the same. Thank you, and back to you, Carol.
All right, thank you. I think there's a hand that Wambui, yes, go ahead. Wambui Kariuki.
Sorry, good morning, Dr. Ayuya. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Ms. Wambui. I am the daughter to the late Agnes Kariuki. She was also in the PhD cohort with she was in the PhD cohort. So we used to attend some of these with her, and I thank you for them. So I just wanted to say thank you for the sessions, but also I think to Professor Ongaro, who we have been discussing with on how to continue her research. So we'll continue that discussion with them, but it's a really interesting session indeed. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Wambui.
Rowena.
Rowena.
In the interest of time, I really would like to be released, but we are going to have a second seminar, I guess, in about 3 weeks' time, because I want to give my students time to start bringing us 0 drafts of chapter 1.
Right.
Yeah, I think that should be, so let's put it 3 weeks' time as we schedule for that seminar on chapter 2, but I expect to start receiving drafts, 0 drafts of chapter 1. And don't be nervous, don't be discouraged. Just bring in that chapter. These men and women who are mentoring you will go through it and give you the comments as we return them back. The deans, please take an active role by allocating these students accordingly. I still plead that we work with them as a cohort as you allocate us to them. Thank you very much.
Prof, just two, so that we have two to appreciate, because you know you're going to go out. I'll just ask one student and then probably ask a faculty from outside, Dr. Jackie from AMREF, and then we can have a student. I can have one student. I think we can take one that will probably. I'll just pick Dr. Livingstone, and again I say congratulations for the recent award of your PhD. Can we say then? Dr. Livingstone, your final remarks. I know you just recently also been awarded, but you're still also doing the second. Jackie Anundo.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Dr. Livingstone, go ahead. Yes.
Let me go first. Thank you very much, Dr. Yuya. Professor, you are quite encouraging in what you are doing. Again, I keep on saying the reason why I'm happy to be at Daystar is because of the work you are doing, the commitment in coming in the morning, show us. I'm doing research on employability just to solve the problem of unemployment, and the feedback you gave me on that was quite overwhelming. Yes. I've taken it, and I'm glad to see today we have Professor Win also coming in to help us in that. Looking forward to making Daystar the greatest, and thank you very much for the support. We'll be here to also do our part. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Jackie, and one day probably Professor Levy, and then we can close.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mwaka. Prof, this has been very insightful. I'm from AMREF International University, but I graduated at Daystar with my PhD in 2022. Dr. Mwaka was actually one of my supervisors, and I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity. I always attend these sessions, and I'm learning a lot and utilizing this in a different university. How great can that be? So I just want to say thank you, and even for giving us an opportunity to also join, even though we are no longer at Daystar. So we are still Daystar family, and I want to thank you so much for this. I've learned a lot today. Thank you.
Asante. Okay, thank you. God bless. Yep.
Professor Levy, and then Dr. Ongaro, you can pray.
Thank you so much, and it's been delightful to be part of this. I'm just excited I saw Professor Wino is Manchester United and Professor Ayiro Liverpool 2020. I think we've got some good competition coming up in the next few days, and I'll be the ref standing in between. But I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to engage in this conversation and to bring our students up to speed on the issues that we are addressing. Thank you.
Asante. Thank you.
Dr. Ongaro? Mangana, Dr. Ongaro? All right, Dr. Dina, please.
Thank you so much, Professor Ayiro. As always, under your feet to be mentored. It's a continuous process. And of course, Dr. Mwaka waking up in the morning to ensure that there is proper coordination. We richly and abundantly thank you for your continuous support as a Daystar community. And thank you for being always available for this generation and generations to come. Have a blessed day. We wish you well. Thank you so much.
Okay, Dr. Dina, pray.
Oh, yeah, I can pray as you are directed. Let us have a word of prayer as we close. Everlasting Father in heaven, we thank you for the gift of life this morning. Thank you for the dissemination of knowledge that you have given your servants, Professor Ayiro, and the other faculty members for the richness of your kingdom. We thank you as the government keeps on making decisions, and it is through this particular research that we can be able to give the insights on how we can be able to better the economy through the research that is being done in different areas of psychology, development studies, communication, business, and the other areas. We thank you for the faculty, which is being led by Professor Ayiro. We thank you for the students. We thank you for the research institutions for continuously searching and enriching us with the knowledge that will solve the problems in a number of areas that require policy formulation. We thank you for Daystar, for the facilitators, and also as a community of believers. Give us a blessed day, a peaceful day, and a productive day ahead of us for this day and the many days to come so that we can serve you. We pray and trust in Jesus' name, our Savior. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.